Hello and welcome to my video about Cthulhu Tales, which is a new game from Cubicle 7 based sort of on the Hobbit Tales, which is a sort of a one ring kind of add-on but is also a standalone little game. So let's get that out of the way and let's have a look at the main game box. As you can see, it's still in shrink. It's just arrived a few days ago and it's got a nice bit of blurb, a couple of nice bits of artwork, and I love this cover where you've got your normal investigator kind of putting weird faces where obviously the sanity is getting a little bit out of hand. So as it says here, a storytelling game of the Cthulhu Mythos, and a couple of designers credited there. So let's get the shrink open and have a look inside. So getting the box open, I'm expecting some cards and some tokens, and of course our rulebook. So yeah, that's looking quite nice. A little advert for a couple of their other games, and of course, if you're not aware, Cubicle 7 do a couple of role-playing games. So we've got a number of tablets and syringes, locks, some little kind of electric bits and doors, so I need to work out what they do. We've also got this nice little board here. Let's have a look. What's the artwork like on that? Well, it's pretty basic. You got your little sort of blocks there with some nice shared artwork. Got a nice baggie, that's good to see, and we've got these a little funky 12-sided custom dice, and I'm guessing these are sort of tarot card size, and they've got some really lovely artwork on with some iconography. So it's going to be another question of having a good read of the rule book on this, and obviously where it's a brand new sealed copy, that's going to take me a little while. As you can see, we've got two types of decks. Now, if I remember correctly, this is the Madness deck, and this is the story card. So you build your story with these, and then you can get some unpleasantness from here. There are various terror icons, which, for example, here, this little sort of red marker is the red paper. You've also got yellow rock, purple metal, blue glass, green wood. So there are a few little options there. And then on your card, for example here, we've got the title, picture, couple of terror icons, and then a little quote. And you might have a little insanity icon over on the left hand side on occasion. So if you know Cubicle 7, that picture might be of someone you might recognise. And you've then got some other weirdness with some pretty cool quotes and stuff, some nice creepy artwork, lots of different bits and pieces, the cover image there. Really nice artwork with some nice little stories. It'd be interesting to see if, a bit like they did for One Ring, they make this usable with some role-playing game. I haven't actually read the rulebook fully at this point, so I have to remind myself how to play. It's an interesting sort of concept, this game, with these beautiful cards. Great artwork, suitably Mythos. So anyway, there you go. I'm not going to show you the whole deck. So we've got the tokens here, and they're looking pretty well punched out. Obviously they have different meanings. So number 6 here, that's isolation. Number 5, that's electroshock therapy. So good old Victorian high quality treatment of mad people. Straitjacket is the padlock. Then obviously injections, and of course pills. So all sorts of lovely ways of dealing with mad people. And there's a nice little kind of dragon eye icon on the back of the token, and they're decent quality, nice thickness, they punch out nicely, and the dice is very good quality. You've got a little Cthulhu and mad person, I'm guessing, icon. And basically the idea is you're trying to tell a story because you have been incarcerated due to slight misfortune interacting with the mythos, and that's basically the game, is just trying to tell your story. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of an overview of how the game might work. You're going to draw 5 cards, and then you're going to take a 6th card, and without looking at it, place it sort of on the end box. Now, these are the cards that I've got to tell a story. So I've got fearsome weather, strained nerves, press report, laboratory, and foul crime. And I'm trying to lay out all these cards without going insane so I can be released from the sanitarium. Now, in a 2-player game, for example, the other players draw madness cards. So in a 2-player, they get 3 cards. And these 3 cards they're going to use to, basically keep me incarcerated. So now we're all ready to go. We have an accusation phase. So the person to the left of the narrator, the person trying to tell their story, gets to draw 2 story cards and a madness card, and they will use those to basically tell a story about how, I ended up in the madhouse, I guess. Okay, so I've drawn a mental shock, a skeptic professor, and a broken memory. So you could, I suppose, if you're feeling lazy, just read out the text underneath. But what you could do is say that, I had a mental shock when I went to a skeptical professor with a broken memory where I tried to describe some weirdness I encountered. So that's sort of how I ended up in the sanitarium. So having told my story, I've placed the cards in, these 3 slots here, effectively to say, mental shock after professor due to my broken memory. And I could put them down in any order I want. Now, if I wanted to, I could have added a bit more, a bit more flavour to this, and maybe the reason the professor was sceptical is because I had these broken memories. It was actually due to my drug abuse, or all sorts of stuff. At the end of the day, these 3 cards are how I ended up coming to the sanitarium, having encountered the mythos, and then the cards that I've drawn as my 5 starting cards, these ones are how I'm actually going to tell the story of what led up to this moment here. Now, based on this accusation, I've now got to pick which card to start off with. So I'm maybe going to play this card first. So fearsome weather. I heard peals of thunder and other tones that nature utters only in her wildest moods. So I've got to potentially draw some tokens here. But basically, I've now got to weave this into the overall narrative. So maybe I'm going to say it was unusual weather and it made me suspicious, and I thought there's something afoot here, and I heard voices on the wind and stuff, weird stuff like that. So I've got to come up with a sort of a, why did I get dragged into this tale of horror and mystery? At this point, you'd probably want to transfer these into a cup or a fancy bag. So I'm going to not look, I'm going to mix them around, and I'm going to draw out 2 tokens, and hopefully they're low value. Oh dear, I need some electroshock therapy and some Valium apparently to deal with these. So these are secret information. So I'm currently scoring 7 points, which is bad. You want to score low points. Now again, I just want to stress here, because I'm filming and trying to do stuff, I'm not putting as much effort into the story as I think you should to make this game come alive. It's the cards are the kind of springboard to a sort of almost role-playing experience where you're trying to tell us fun and of course HPL twisted story. So you might choose to do something different with these cards, but obviously I've now got to try and feed into these other cards, which will probably end up with a foul crime, let's be honest, being at the end. So let's see if I'm going to get mucked around with. So at this point, I've finished telling my tale for the first card, so I play a press report, and I'm going to say, having been concerned about this weather, the next day I was reading the press and I was reading about all sorts of weirdness, things washing up on beaches, and I became suspicious, etc., etc. I've also got 2 tokens to draw. But at this point, the horrible other players might decide to mess with my tale. Now at this point we need to check the icons. So if I've got yellow and green or blue and red, I could potentially play a card. Well, I can play a card. I do have a blue and red card, for example. Now, because I've got this match here, I've got this Overtaken Madness card, which I can then play to say, well, actually, you were overtaken by events and things you did. There is a number here and a dice roll to happen, which I'm going to try and weave into the story and mess around basically with the other player, because, pretending to be a two-player game here. So at this point we roll the dice to see whether I suffer with a major or minor madness condition. Now sadly I've rolled 7, which is more than 5, so I have suffered a major kind of mental disturbance. So yes, they've messed with me quite nicely. Thank you very much. Now of course when I played this card I could have pretended to be the psychologist or the board of directors interviewing the patient, tell us about things, in this diary entry, or this mad scribbling, or you were overheard saying this, whatever. But the problem for me is because I failed this test, that basically these cards are going to really mess with my story. So I'm going to have to say it wasn't actually a press report that made me become overtaken by events. So let's move this away. This is because of a major effect. It is a lie. I was trying to hide the truth. In fact, it was actually because whilst the weather was going on, I was in my laboratory doing some experiments on some bodies, and that's what I was trying to hide. And of course that's why I was having mental shock, because I came to realise there wasn't something quite right about these bodies. The weird scars on them, or tattoos, or someone I knew, something along those lines, something weird and twisted and Lovecraftian. Now luckily for me, my opponent's madness cards don't match up with the iconography, so they can't play any cards on me just now, so they tell me to continue telling my story. And of course I'm going to have to draw some icons. Okay, well I can proceed telling my tale at this point. So it's fearsome weather. I was actually working in the laboratory, and I found my nerves were strained by this discovery of some grim foulness going on. It was totally unnatural, totally unexplainable to science. I would have to work out what had happened here. There's something just wrong. So it goes round, the other players check to see if they can mess with me. They can't, apparently, so I can proceed. And it became quite clear to me that there'd been some foul crime. Something was wrong here. This body that come to me was not just merely somebody who died via natural causes. Something had been done to them, something unnatural and unwholesome. And as you can see, because I'm drawing lots of cards with 2 icons, I'm accumulating lots of madness here. I've got, 15. I'm already up to 23 points, which is a little bit disturbing. Anyway, let's see if the other players can mess with me. No, they can't. Excellent. Now I'm out of cards, so this last space here, I'm not going to be able to play from my hand. So I'm going to have to basically do a blind draw from the top of the deck and hope I can fit it into my story. Now, if it doesn't fit, you can sort of retell your narrative and try and make it make sense. So a passage. So having discovered this foul crime, I decided to go and find where the body had come from, and I noticed that in their grave there was a passage down into the depths. So yes, something was definitely weird going on there. But of course that then reveals the true ending to my story, which was there were strange companions. So basically, during some fearsome weather, I was working in the lab. My nerves became strained because I discovered a foul crime, and when I went into a passageway, I found some strange companions who were obviously doing things to bodies that were unwholesome. So, these guys are probably Lovecraftian ghouls, for example. Now I've actually misremembered the rules here. You get the first 2 tokens, but this lot here you don't necessarily draw straight away. Apparently when you get to the end of your story, you take the number of treatment tokens equal to 12 minus the number of terror icons on the 4 cards you placed below the board. So basically these ones here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to draw 4 tiles and score those, and then all these other tokens that I drew out, they get discarded. So let me have a look. 1, 2, 3, so 5, 10. So my total score was 14. So as part of this story, they've decided they best restrain me because, you know, maybe I did the murder, give me some electroshock therapy, dose me up to make me all calm, and then give me some pills to, you know, totally finish me off. So fantastic. Now, obviously, if you don't finish your tale, slightly different sort of score keeping. And then all these cards that we used, they get disposed, and then the next person in the game gets to tell their story of grim and dark deeds. So as you can see, it's a pretty simple, fun little game. It's going to stand and fall on your power of narration. Hopefully I managed to make it slightly interesting tale. And I can see it being really useful for maybe coming up with some scenario ideas for like a Call of Cthulhu campaign, or, you know, just a nice little lightweight filler game for people who like kind of the Cthulhu mythos. I don't think it's going to win some huge rewards for being an amazing game, but it's got, you know, some really nice artwork, tells a nice little story, and I can see it's one of these games with the right group it's going to work really well. With the wrong group it's going to be a bit painful, a bit stilted, but, you know, you can still have a little bit of fun with it. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up the video at this point. I've had a quick skim of the rules, played a little demo game for you, hopefully not made too many mistakes. It's got lovely dice, fantastic little simple kind of 9-page rule book, beautiful artwork, lovely cards, really, really nice tokens. There's a lot here to like. Now, with the wrong game group, this game is going to be a total wash, total waste of time. Everyone's going to hate it. But if you can get some really good improvisation and storytelling, you can get some really rich thematic fun out of this game. Now, I think this is going to be a great idea for sort of almost storyboarding some Call of Cthulhu campaigns. So I am planning on playing this sort of little bit solo by myself to try and come up with sort of a rough outline of maybe some games to run role-playing people with. But I'm also hopefully going to get some people to play this who are going to really embrace that storytelling element and really enjoy the game. So, as I say, with the wrong group, this game's going to be absolutely rubbish. With the right group, I think there can be a lot of fun with this game. So really looking forward to trying it out and seeing how it works. Hopefully you've seen enough to work out whether this is a game for you or not, and make up your own mind. So, you know, till the next time, Fatagan, Cthulhu, and I can't remember the rest of the quote. So anyway, enjoy.